Hello, trading is closed on the 8th of July, 2021. Our disclaimer comes first. Remember, I can be completely wrong and all trades should be at your own risk. Please follow the rules of my channel. Click like and tell your friends. We always start by reviewing our calls. Called for the pattern with the early high. This is it. Now, I know a lot of people probably thought yesterday's pattern had the early low. If so, you would have had a different pattern today. This is a typical pattern with the early high here, a higher high here. And typically, there'll be a higher high at the close. Now, we didn't get a higher high at the close. And we don't have to. It's just typical. It's not required. But what really counts isn't today's close, but tomorrow's open. So even though futures are down as I'm recording this, there's a reasonable possibility we're going to gap and probably take out this high tomorrow, but it certainly is not a lock. So tomorrow's pattern has the early low. Doesn't mean you won't gap up. We called for a print of 43.51.16 unless we gapped up smartly, so that's certainly printed. It's always gratifying when we get to cross some old targets off the list. We'll cross off 43.26.40. You can see resistance over the high. We'll cross off 43.10.49 support under that price. We said yesterday that I couldn't say exactly when these would print, but they should. It would be a lot easier to make predictions if these numbers always printed in their preferred time frames, but sometimes they make you wait. There is another target of 42.76.52. It should print it sometime, but there's nothing I have requiring it to print tomorrow. We did generate a new target today, 43.22.73. I know it isn't that much higher than where we closed, but it is an indication that higher prices remain plausible. Here was the pattern. This move up here was called false. This drop is now called false, calls for return to this line. We had this big drop, and this is the kind of drop which is typical when the market's starting a significant move down. Typically, it doesn't give you a great chance to get in. If you didn't recognize it up here, you kind of got shut out. You might get another chance because we gapped down, undercut all these lows, but here's the close. And despite this big whopping down day, notice how we closed over these prior lows. So this drop didn't really accomplish anything. Now again, it isn't this close as much as tomorrow's open. If we gap down, take out these lows fast, this recovery doesn't mean anything. And that certainly isn't possible because I think all the surprises here are going to be on the downside. But unless we do this recovery and the higher target I view as significant. And it wouldn't surprise me if we traded a bit higher tomorrow, even if we don't close higher. Longer term's a different picture. This was the pattern we had. This came to about, 43.59. We had a squared number, 43.56. The high was 43.61 and change. It would be nice if these things would print exactly. Sometimes you have to settle for what you get. And until we undercut some of these lows, particularly these, from, I guess, 2 months ago, until we undercut these lows, I'm willing to admit that the market still could recover. Although I think because breadth is continuing to deteriorate, it's becoming increasingly less likely that we're going to recover prior to a substantial move down. For right now, we'll call this the end of blue B. Until these fall, I can still be wrong. But if I'm not wrong, if that is the end, we should get something comparable to this blue A. And the start, at least, is comparable to the start of that. Still isn't confirmed until these lows fall. Well, tomorrow's pattern has the early low. We could still gap up. As far as tomorrow is concerned, there are a number of factors calling for higher prices, even if we don't close higher. It's a slightly higher MEJT target. Unless we gap down smartly, it's favored to print. We gapped under recent lows, but closed over them. Volatility indices give Bollinger Band reversal buy signals. NASDAQ McClellan oscillator is under its lower Bollinger Band. Doesn't have to reverse through it, but if it does, it gives a buy. As far as longer term is concerned, the breadth deteriorated further, increases the chance that we made a tradable top. Until some prior lows fall as possible, though not likely the market will recover. Strong drop like this is typical of the start of a drop which sticks, just doesn't give you another chance to get back in, although we might have one tomorrow. I'm going to be gone for a good part of the day, so that's usually when the market makes its big moves. Oh, one other prediction we have with that, we would have a gap, promptly trade outside the day's range. I guess that wasn't obvious at the time the call was made, but it was pretty obvious by the time we opened. Anyway, there should be the pattern with the early low, but it doesn't mean you won't gap up first. Doesn't mean you won't trade higher. And what I'd like to see, don't always get what I'd like, so I'd like to see higher prices take these highs out early, but that doesn't mean we have to close higher, as I think this high might stick around for a while. And tomorrow's pattern has the early low, but look out for the gap up first, possible but not guaranteed. And that's today's call.